right, WMMA scene now with your host Chuck Stevenson, coming at you with a special fight preview. Now this one is a fight that I did a preview for back in June, and then that fight got changed. One of the fighters had to pull out due to injury, so the fight got one fighter stayed in, got a replacement opponent. And I wanted to do another review because, well, one, I've changed how I do these reviews just a little bit since then. And also, things have changed. Well, the one fighter had to pull out the her opponent had to took a replacement fight and then won an additional fight a month ago. So records have changed and just overall things have changed. So we're going to Road FC 57XX. We're going to the main event, an atomweight fight between Jeong-Eun Park coming in at 6-6-1, taking on Yuri Shim coming in at 5-2. So before we break these fighters down individually, let's see how they stack up statistically. All right, so Shim is going to be the older fighter, 25 to Park's 23. Park is more experienced, coming in 6-6-1. However, Shim has the winning record at 5-2. Now, height is where the big difference comes in. Shim is 5 feet 6 inches, 168 centimeters tall, compared to Park, who is only 5 feet 2 inches, 158 centimeters tall. So, 4-inch height advantage for Shim. Unfortunately, I cannot locate a reach statistic for either of these fighters. So that's how they break down statistically against each other. Let's break them down now individually. We'll start with the more experienced fighter, Jeong-Eun Park. So Park's strengths. Well, first off, she's fast. I mean, very quick. Darts in, darts out with her strikes, and just moves around very fast. When she faced Sahi Ham and challenged, albeit unsuccessfully, for the Road FC title last December, Ham had a hard time dealing with Park's speed. So Park is just fast and quick. And then she's also a good range striker. She mostly prefers to stay on the outside, pick her strikes, occasionally darting in to land a few, and then getting back out to range. And then finally, Park has an improving submission game. She got what I believe was her first win by submission back in June, albeit against late replacement opponent. And then last month in Deep Jewels, she fought Emi Sato and almost had her in a submission in that fight before opting instead to go for a ground and pound. So her submission game is improving. Now, one weakness of Park's is her takedown defense and her bottom game. She doesn't defend takedowns that well, and she's not as good when she gets taken down. So she needs to work on that. Now, for Park's keys to victory, she'd be better off staying on the outside. Now, normally I wouldn't advise a shorter fighter without the reach to stay on the outside, but if I were Park, I'd stay on the outside because Shim excels in the clinch, and so Park should avoid the clinch, stay on the outside, do what she does best, dart in and out on strikes, and strike from the outside. In combination with that, she needs to pick her shots carefully because if she gets into a prolonged exchange, she risks getting caught in Shim's clinch. So she needs to pick her shots carefully. And then finally, because she herself has a weak takedown defense and doesn't do so good on the bottom, if she needs to, go for the takedown herself, which is something that Park actually has shown to do in her last two fights. When she was fighting Eun-Hae Kim, I believe it was, back in June, Kim was starting to get her with some strikes, so Park said, well, I've had enough of this, shot in for a takedown, got to submission. And then against Emi Sato, Sato was proven to be underrated on the feet, so again, Park took her down. So if all else fails, win the takedown battle. Okay, so that was Jeong-Eun Park. Now let's look at Yuri Shim. So Shim's strengths. she has some brutal clinch knees. If you go back and watch her fight with Shiming last December in Road FC, she took that poor girl out with the knees. And it was, I mean, she just kept getting in the clinch and kneeing her to death. She lands them from different angles. She can land them straight ahead. She can land them from the side. She can, push her opponent against the cage, pull her head down, and start landing the knees from the side. Just brutal clinch knees. Brutal. Did I mention that they're brutal? She also has good takedowns from the clinch. She is much like Park. She's more of a stand-up fighter, but she uses the clinch to also get some nice takedowns. And then she has very strong top control. I watched a video once of her training in her gym, Team Genius. They only have a ring and a hardwood floor. The ring is a ground level ring, like a couple inches clearance off the ground. And they don't really have any mats on the floor or the walls. So if you go to that gym, you're going to learn to have a better top game and strong top game because you don't want to be on the ground at training there. So she developed some nice takedowns and the top control to go with it. Now, as for Shim's weakness, it's much the same as Park's. Her takedown defense isn't as good, and she has a weak bottom game. And that's mostly because she doesn't get to train on the ground as much due to training in a striking-oriented gym. Now, for Shim's keys to victory, she'd be best off closing the distance and getting the clinch. Park is the better range fighter, but Shim is the much better clinch fighter. So Shim should get in there, get the clinch, and go to work there. Unfortunately, she can't work the elbows because elbows are disallowed in Road FC. But she can punch, she can knee, go to work with the knees. So get to that clinch. And then she should also work the body, which mostly comes down to the knees again. If you start working the body against Park, it's going to take her gas out and she's going to slow down. So that'll take away from Park's speed. And then finally, just like Park, because she's not so good on the ground or good from the bottom, all else fails, go for the takedowns. Win the takedown battle, get top control. Okay, so that was how I see the breakdown of this fight. So now it's time to make a prediction. Originally, I had picked Shim. Shim was on the rise at the time. She's coming in off of 3 straight wins. Park was coming off of, I believe, 3 straight losses when this fight was originally scheduled. Now, Park since then has gained a couple wins, whereas Shim was in the hospital for, I think, several days or even 2 weeks. She took a really nasty body kick, and it either bruised or lacerated her kidney. So I picked Shim originally, and honestly, I'm still going to go with Shim on this. I think that she still is a rising star. Granted, this ring rust could very much affect her, but I think overall, her striking is a little bit better than Park's, particularly in the clinch. I think she has the better takedown games, and she does better if she can get on the top. It really comes down to if one of them is getting outstruck, who's going to go for the takedown first. I would honestly predict that it's going to be Park going for the takedown first, but that depends on if she can get it. And she has to avoid, spending too much time in the clinch against Shim. So I'm still going to go with Shim. I'm a little more tentative on this pick this time than I was back in May or June when I made the original preview video. But I still like Shim's chance, and that reach advantage and the height, it's definitely going to play a factor, I think. So we'll go with Yuri Shim. We'll go with by decision. Just because I don't want to really risk making that big of a pick. So anyway, that's my thoughts on the fight. I'm very excited for this. It's the main event of an all-ladies, the Road FC XX event This will be the third straight year they've closed out their year with the double X fights. So, and this is honestly, it's the two best Korean female fighters not named Sahi Ham. Well, arguably, there's one other, but she's not an atomweight. So these are definitely the two best Korean atomweights not named Sahi Ham. And the winner of this likely gets to face her for the title sometime next year. So very much looking forward to this fight. But let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. Likes always appreciated. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell for notifications, and we'll see you next time.